Hi, everybody. It's Miss Aggie, the guidance counselor at Crab Orchard Elementary School, and I'm going to talk with you guys today about more strategies for understanding and being in control of our emotions. The elementary counselors throughout the district have been creating videos to help you with this topic from home. Today, we're going to talk about the tools that we use in our yellow zone. Let's get started. So when to use our yellow zone tools? First, let's just review quickly what those zones are. We have 4 zones, and they're the blue zone where we feel sick, sad, tired, bored, or we're just moving slow. Our second zone is our green zone. That's the one that we feel the best in. That's when we're happy, we feel calm, we're focused, and we're ready to learn. Our yellow zone is where we're going to talk about the most today. It's when we're leaving the green zone and we're headed towards the red or the blue zone. We might start to feel frustrated by people. We might be worried about something that's going on, or we might be feeling silly and wiggly and we're just excited and we're not in control. And then our red zone, the fourth and last zone, that's the one where we're mad or angry. We might be mean towards people by yelling or hitting. We might be really disgusted by something that happened and we're out of control. I want to remind you that there is no bad zone. We have zones that we like to be in, but everyone experiences all 4 of the zones, and most of us go through all 4 in the same day. Here's a picture of Jack's zones. Jack's just a made-up guy, but look how Jack spends a lot of his day in the green zone. That's good. He feels happy there, and other people feel happy around him. He dips down into the blue zone. Maybe he's feeling sad, or maybe he's bored. He spends a little time in that yellow zone where he's feeling uncomfortable, and then one time he flips his lid and goes into the red zone. I want to talk about what that yellow zone feels like, because if we're going to talk about what tools to use in that zone, we need to recognize when we're in it. Well, remember I said the yellow zone is when you're about to go into the red zone or the blue zone? All of these kids in this pictures and this grown man, they're all in the yellow zone. Take a look at this guy who says, "I'm getting angry." He's got his shoulders up around his ears. His mouth is open. He's about to yell. His veins are popping out. Or these 2 kids sitting together. The one is using a megaphone to scream into the other kid's ear. I would feel annoyed by that. You can tell that this boy's in the yellow zone and feeling annoyed because he's looking straight ahead, ignoring his friend. He's got his mouth closed tightly and he's folding his hands like he's trying to stay calm. Or look at this little girl who's rolling her eyes at her mom and she's holding her lips together so tight. It's like she's trying to keep the bad words in. And then the last picture, this is probably what distance learning looks like for some of us, right? This kid is trying to pay attention, but he is in the blue zone or the yellow zone. He's got his shoulders slouched. He's got his chin in his hand. His eyes are rolled so far back in his head, and his mouth is hanging open. So in that yellow zone, we just feel like we're about to lose it. You might be wondering why we're talking about using tools in yellow zone instead of the red zone. You're thinking, well, the red zone's when I'm really mad. Isn't that when I need to calm down? But we're going to talk about something called flipping your lid, because when we flip our lid and we're in that red zone, we're out of control and it's too late to use a tool. So I'm going to show you this video that I love that explains what flipping your lid is, and it's got some cool science about how the brain works too.
Let's take a closer look at the parts of the brain and how they can work together to help us keep a lid on things. The brain is a pretty complicated organ, so we're going to use our hand to help us visualize what's happening up there. Let's imagine that our brain has an upstairs and a downstairs. Here, where our thumb is called the midbrain. This is where our emotions and memories are created and stored. Below that is your brainstem. The brainstem controls the things our bodies do that we don't have to think about, like breathing. It also controls our automatic reactions to certain situations. For example, if you touch a cup with hot tea in it and it's too hot, your downstairs brain feels the pain and will pull your hand away to stop you from getting burnt. It's an automatic reaction. You don't have to stop and think about what to do. Or imagine you're out on a hike and a bear wanders onto the path. Your brain doesn't stop and think, what kind of bear is it? Is it friendly? Your downstairs brain notices that you feel scared. It takes charge and in a split second decides whether or not you should fight, fly, another word for run away, or freeze. Because of the way our downstairs brain reacts to these situations, we can think of it as our emotional brain because it reacts instantly without needing to think things through. It's always ready to take charge in any situation to help keep you safe. So, if this is our downstairs brain, then this part where the back of our hand and fingers are can be seen as our upstairs brain. It's called the cerebral cortex. This part of our brain helps us think logically, act with kindness, and think about how others might be feeling. It's also the problem-solving part of our brain. It helps us to think of possible solutions to a problem and decide which one is best. The upstairs brain is our thinking brain. Your upstairs and downstairs brain don't work alone. Your brain is set up so that the upstairs and downstairs brain can communicate with itself. It sends messages from section to section all the time about what our bodies feel and need. Let's take a closer look at our brain fist. Where our fingertips are is the logic and reasoning part of the brain that springs into action when we have a problem to solve, and usually it does a great job of doing it. But sometimes it can have a hard time solving a problem if the emotional brain and thinking brain can't communicate well enough. This can happen if your emotions get too overwhelming and your downstairs brain decides that this situation might be dangerous, even if it isn't really. And we all know what happens when our downstairs brain thinks you're in danger. It triggers our fight, flight, or freeze reflex. Our emotions start to bubble up, and then suddenly everything boils over. We flip our lids. This can look like a scary, angry reaction, or it might be crying or running away from a problem. Now that we've flipped our lids, see how far away our fingertips are from the midbrain? When our lids are flipped, our upstairs and downstairs brain can't talk to each other. Our emotions have become too strong and we can't think clearly and can't solve the problem in a peaceful way. So, what can we do to stop us from flipping our lid? Well, it all starts with realizing that we're about to flip our lid, and then turning down the heat so it doesn't happen.
All right. So I like that video for a couple of reasons. The first reason is I love watching the drawing. How cool. I wish I could do that. The second reason is that it's a really great way to understand how our brain works. If you need a recap, because I know it's hard to pay attention to a video, here's a really fast recap. We can use our hand and imagine it's our brain. Your thumb and your palm are the lower part of your brain that make decisions without thinking, like, I'm scared, run away. If you fold your hand down over your thumb and your palms, this part of your hand represents the part of our brain that thinks before it acts, the part that goes, what's going to be my consequence if I act that way? Or how is that going to make others feel? Well, when we get really emotional, really scared, really surprised, really sad, really worried, we flip our lid, and now that part of our brain that acts without thinking is the only one that can work. So when I said we're going to use these tools in the yellow zone, that's because when we're in the red zone, when we flipped our lid, we can't use those tools anymore. We're out of control. It is too late. That's why it's important to recognize when you're in the yellow zone. So I want you to... Wait a minute. I think my audio messed up on that, but you get the point. I had this video and this little sound bite stuck in my head thinking about this. Just like Bruno Mars, I want you to stop and wait a minute. Because when you realize you're in the yellow zone, you have two choices. You have one path that is the path of flipping your lid. And here's what that might sound like and look like. I'm probably going to have an ad, so sorry for that.
Welcome to Lego City. Woohoo! Ice cream! There's a lot going on these streets. So prepare for Lego City like you've never seen it before. You can watch this now on YouTube or nick.com/Lego.
All right, that's a really short video, but it's just one example of how flipping your lid can look. When you're in the yellow zone and you need to use a tool, if you don't use the tool, that's the path that you take. And even though that looks kind of funny, it doesn't feel good to flip your lid. It makes other people feel uncomfortable and it makes you feel uncomfortable, and you usually act in ways that you later regret or wish you hadn't. Luckily, you have a second choice, and here's that second choice.
One, two, 3, 4, 5. Now, how do you feel?
Hey, me feel terrific. Me calm.
Yes,
Me relax.
yes, you are.
Yeah.
That is wonderful, isn't it?
Sorry for the technical difficulties, guys. If you can believe it, I have actually recorded this presentation 5 or 6 times. It's just been one of those days. So that second path is the second choice, and that's the choice to calm down with a tool. Did you notice how Cookie Monster used his friend the Count to help him count and breathe? And he felt so good and relaxed at the end. Those are our 2 choices when we're in the yellow zone. All right, I have another strategy for you that comes from Miss Johnson at Highland Elementary.
Together, close your eyes, rub your head, then rub your legs, so like where your knees are, and that's it, okay? So you do this five times, and it brings our stress levels and our worries and our anxiety down.
All right, that's one of Miss Johnson's strategies. And I've got some more strategies for you too, like Miss Sublet from Houstonville. She taught us about our tools. Here's some of the tools she taught us about. You can do the 6-sided breathing, where you trace the hexagon with your finger and breathe in and out. The lazy 8 breathing, where you trace the 8 and breathe in and out. We can also do the calming sequence, just like Miss Johnson showed us, where we squeeze our hands, close our eyes, rub our head, pat our legs, or push, pull, dangle, that chair activity that Miss Johnson taught us. We can count to 10 like Cookie Monster got halfway there. And there's other things like music, taking a walk, fidgets, or exercise. So here's a few reminders before we end our lesson today. Number 1, all zones are normal. We feel our best in the green zone, but nobody spends all of their time there. It's okay to get mad. It's okay to get sad. We have tools so that we don't have to spend too much time there, though. Everyone feels their best in the green zone. We do. It's when we are getting along with people, focusing, and feeling happy and calm. And when we can recognize those yellow and blue zones coming on, we start to feel anxious. We recognize that we're gritting our teeth or rolling our eyes. That's when we know to use a tool to keep from sliding into that red zone or that blue zone. We know because we understand what flipping our lid means, that if we wait too long to use a tool, our lid is already flipped and it's too late to use a tool because we're out of control. We're going to have to wait till we calm back down. And we know so many awesome tools. I didn't even have time to show you all of the tools that we've learned about from all of our amazing elementary counselors this year. But if you go back and rewatch the videos, I hope you'll find a tool that works for you. Thank you so much for being with me today while we talked about using our yellow zone tools. I really appreciate the time you take to watch our videos and understand yourself, your feelings, and how to be in control of them so that they're not in control of you. That's all I have for you guys today. Have an awesome Wednesday and have a great start to your holiday season.